Hello and welcome. This is Noninkables podcast number 33. I actually have some notes this time. I'm trying to be more organized. Let's see. Noninkables news. We're officially an LLC as of, I think actually last week, but I forgot to talk about it. Finally got around to filing the paperwork and doing all that stuff. I set up a whole business account, got a business credit card. Look at me go. Doing real adulty stuff. In terms of Lorcana, I've just been practicing a lot on Lorcanito, and then also been trying to go to some constructed tournaments and stuff just to practice like in real life, because I feel like it's always a little bit different on the computer versus practicing in real life. And also I got to practice my shuffling because that I feel like needs work. So in terms of the YouTube channel, last week we came out with the podcast episode, and then I posted the part 3 of the TCG terms video. So that's like the last one of the set. So there's 3 videos total, just going over TCG terms that I did not know prior to playing Lorcana. And I think a lot of the terms are really just Magic terms, in all honesty, because I think Magic is like the longest running trading card game, most popular, I would say. And so there's a lot of people who come from Magic and then they just use those words. And sometimes I'm just like, what are you talking about? I don't know what that means. And so that series is part of like my TCG Foundation series that goes over that. And then what should we talk about first? Let's talk about Lorcanito first. Okay, so I have been keeping notes. Like I have a little Excel spreadsheet where I keep track of like all my ranked games and what color combination I play, if I was on the play or on the draw, what version of my deck I use. And then I'll write like little notes about what their deck had. And then I'll write like, because it's best of 3, right? So I'll write if I won or lost each game with little notes in there. And so last week we talked about how I was on green steel, and then I moved to green purple. And now I am on red purple again. So last week I was still doing green purple for like the beginning of the week. I was trying out the EU championship version, the one that got second place in Swiss. I think I started out with that. And then later I switched to the second place, which was like a little bit different. And then I made my like own version. And then I was doing pretty good. And I was like, oh, this deck is so good. I'm undefeated. And then I started just losing very, very badly. And so I was like, I don't know, maybe I need to go back to something else. And so I think I also ran into like a bunch of like, I think I played a bunch of mirror green purples, and then I played some like blurple decks and just got wrecked. And so then I went back to red purple. So that's what I've been playing. It's probably like the middle of last week, and it's been going pretty good, I would say. I would say in general, like I do have to think a lot more and kind of like take things slower just to think ahead more. And I think this set, it's been a little harder because you have to like play around a lot more things. So things like go-go, you have to play around with. And I think I said I was going to learn the correct pronunciation. Then I watched a video of Tadashi introducing Go-Go to Hero, and he just calls her Go-Go. So I'm just going to call her Go-Go and avoid the whole Smago, Tamago, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so like playing around Go-Go, you can't leave like characters that are damaged on board because sometimes they just Go-Go and win. And then I had a period where I kept running into Blurple, and that Elsa and Hades combo is just, they like Big Elsa, freeze all your stuff, and then they put a bunch of manners, and you're just like, geez, what am I supposed to do? So it's been a journey. I've played around with the deck a little bit. I'm trying to add like a little spice to it, because before when I was playing Emerald, Amethyst, Brian was like, oh, you should play red purple because that's what you played like set 4 and set 2. It's like your comfort zone. I'm like, yeah, but it's like the same deck. There's no new cards. I think the red purple that won EU, the only new card was Genie, and everything else was the same. And I was like, so boring. But then, of course, we do have all the foils. So I think we just need Genie foils. But I also don't care that much about foils, right? So, yeah. So, okay. So I have been playing around with red purple. I'm still trying to kind of work out what exactly I want to add in. I think I did think about adding in like Maui's hook, but I think it's too expensive. It's too slow. And then right now, let's see. Right now on Lord Canito, so they had a Black Friday sale, so I paid for that. And I think right now my MMR, so like my ranking tends to hover around like 1300 to 1350. My peak was at 1368 and currently I'm at like 1314, which is like 500th position. I think the highest I saw was at one point I was like 205. And so still kind of testing that out. Brian's finally going to start playing Lord Canito, which is great because I don't know why he's been resistant to it. He's just been playing Inktable, but today he was like, I'm going to start playing Lord Canito. I was like, it's great. He has been playing on it with me, but not like in the general ranked leaderboard stuff. And it's really funny because I was talking to Gary and he says that when he plays Lord Canito, all he plays against is Ruby Sapphire. And I was like, that's interesting because that's literally the deck I almost never get to play against. I'm always playing like Blurple or Green Blue or Amber Steel. And we have like similar scores. So we should be kind of like in the same range of people that we're matching up against. And I do notice that the people you play are different depending on the time of day that you play. So I feel like when I play during the daytime, like when people are normally working, I play against a lot more non-meta decks. So like not red, purple, not green, purple, and not red, blue. I tend to play more of like the blurples, the purple steels, the green blues, those kind of things. And then once it's like nighttime, I feel like all the serious meta people are on grinding. And so, yeah. Okay. So this week in real life, we did play in 2 tournaments. So we played at VPC on Thursday, which is like our usual thing. It was 9 people were there total. I ended up being second. They had 3 rounds, best of 2, because VPC always does best of 2. And I ended up being second based on tiebreakers because the person who was first place was also, we were both 2-0-1. So 2 wins, no losses, and 1 draw. But they ended up having a higher opponent's match point than me. So I think their opponents just did better than me. For that one, I played red, purple. I titled my deck Back Home because that's how it feels like that I'm back home. So the first round I played against Brian and I was like, great. Love it when we match together. It's like being at home. He was playing green steel. He's doing some sort of like a discard green steel with Robin Hood and Imperial Bow. And so like one of the combos he can do is he can basically Imperial Bow Calhoun, and then that'll take out like a genie and survive. I think it can also take out an Elsa and survive. And it gets 2 lore. It's kind of nasty. And so I played against him the first game. First game, I'm really not sure about how I wrote down the scores, but I think the first game I bricked and he won, and the second game he bricked. And then we did try to play a third game, but we ran out of time. And then the second round, I played against a green-purple deck, which I feel like I lost quite a few games against on Lord Canito when I first switched to red-purple, and I was having a little panic moment. Went back to green-purple for like a round or 2, and then like chilled out and then figured out how to play against green-purple. The green-purple I was playing was, I think, not super meta. So it was against Louis, and he was running 4 Emerald Chromacons and 4 Maleficent Staffs. The main reason for the Maleficent Staff is because he has an enchanted Maleficent Staff that he wanted to play, which is hilarious. And so I won 2-0. The first game he got to like 16 lore and I was at 8, and then I just got control and quested. And then the second game he got to like 9. Oh, maybe he only got to 8 the first game. What I've realized playing against green purple when they have the Emerald Chromacon out, because I think that card caused me a lot of problems when I was playing against it in Battle of the Bay, especially when they have Emerald Chromacon and Maleficent Staff. So if you attack their character and you banish it, they get to bounce one of your characters. So 1, your character gets bounced, right? So you have to repay to play it again. And 2, like if they have Maleficent Staff out, they get lore for that, which is annoying. So in general, I will just ignore their characters and try to outquest them. So I'll just play like all my 2 ink quests. So I'll just play genies and like Belle and Tremaine. Anything else that quests for 2, I'll just try to play a bunch of those or like a bunch of little stuff because green purple doesn't have any big board wipes. So you don't have to worry about like be prepared or like grab your sword or something, clearing out your boards. You don't have to worry about that. So you can just go super wide and then have them deal with you. Because if they banish your character on their turn, the Emerald Chromacon doesn't do anything. So that's kind of my method now when I play against Emerald Chromacon. Obviously, you can't be too far behind in lore. Otherwise, they can just outrace you. So it's kind of dependent. And then the other thing is like, I think when I played against Louis, what I did was like, I would use, like when I would banish his character, it would sometimes be a trade. And the only thing he could bounce back to my hand would be like a rabbit. And so he really didn't want to bounce back the rabbit because then I would get a card. And so then he would forgo that trigger. And I was like, are you sure you don't want to bounce my rabbit or my Medusa? So I can Medusa another one. So you just make the decision hard for them. Yeah, so that was round 2. And then round 3, I played against Jesbian. So I love Jesbian. She is always super nice, awesome. She helped kind of run Battle of the Bay. So her, Tegan, Ben were the big people behind Battle of the Bay, which was so much fun. I'm always like, when are we going to do the next one? Battle Bay 2. Let's do it. So she almost always plays hyper aggro. And I played against her in the set champs for set 5, I think. And definitely lost. I was on red purple. She was on like a green purple hyper aggro, I think. Because I remember her playing like Chris Merfolk and then Chris Merfolk. And I just cried. And so I feel like I always get very nervous playing her, especially if I'm on red purple, because I know she's going to be playing hyper aggro and it's going to be kind of tough for my deck. So she was playing yellow purple hyper aggro this time. And I 2-0'd her, which like, sorry, Jesbian. But also I'm like so proud of myself because I feel like that is a matchup that is very scary for me. And can't believe I did it. I think I also got very lucky in my draws in that I got a lot of my, I definitely got a 1-drop every game. Mulliganed hard for that one. I was like, I need a 1-drop. I need Flynn because that's what I've learned from playing against her in the past is that I definitely need Flynn. I definitely need my 1-drop. And so the first game, she was able to get to 11 before I kind of took over, got control. And then the second game, she got to 14 when I was at like 13. And then I took control and then I got to 19, then 20. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. And then I think we played a third game. And the third game, I lost. It was close. It was like 20-17. And part of the problem with the third game was that I had a Maui out and she played a Baloo. And because Maui has Reckless, I had to crash into the Baloo. And I didn't have like a song for him to sing and I couldn't bounce him. Because if Maui didn't have Reckless, right, I could just not attack Baloo and Baloo could get 1 lore and that wouldn't be enough for her to win. But because I had to attack Baloo because of Maui's Reckless, she won. But that was one of the games that didn't count. So, okay. So that was at VPC. Brian also went and he played against Jesbian's other half, Tegan. And she was able to get a pretty cool move on him. If you listen to her podcast, so she just started a podcast with the judge that usually is at VPC. And sometimes he's also the tournament organizer, Chris. And it's called, I think, 100 Acres Inc. It's new. So they're only on episode 2. And it's basically the 2 of them talking. And then you get really cool insights about like judge stuff since Chris is a judge, which is very interesting. And I feel like good learning. And so they talk about that. And so Tegan was able to get a very cool move on Brian. She was playing Sapphire Steel. And I'm not going to describe the move because I'm going to get it wrong. But it was like a very cool combo that basically wiped out his board. And so, yeah, that was Thursday. Friday, we didn't do anything. Saturday, we had friends over. So we went to Napa to do some wine tasting because they're big wine people. I feel like every time we do any sort of wine tasting, it's because they're here, whether it be Napa or Paso. And then we did like a tasting menu. Ooh, and I had kind of a tangent. One of the appetizers in the tasting menu was caviar with cheesecake, which was delicious because the cheesecake is like creamy and then like randomly you'll just get like pops of salty. So that was probably one of my favorite things. That, and then they had like a risotto with like an onsen egg on top. And I forgot what else. It was super good. So Saturday we were hanging out with friends. And then Sunday we played at Fanimich. So Fanimich had a double booster box tournament. First place got a booster box. And then second place got half of a booster box. And then third and fourth place could split another half of the booster box. So 2 booster boxes total for 1 through 4. And initially it was going to be like a best of 2 format. with 4 rounds or 5 rounds if you were, depending on how many people were there. And then I feel like our team really was like, can we please have it best of 3? I was like, okay, if it's best of 2, like, what do? I like lose the die roll and then I lose my first game and then I just cry. Like, what happens? I basically was like, oh, yikes. So lose the first game of the first round is basically bad news bears. I guess on the plus side, the rounds are 5 minutes shorter. So that was my contribution. And then Tyler actually wrote like a very, thought out response that was like, I would like it to encourage best of 3. It'll be a very poor experience if we do best of 2 because of tiebreakers, and most people will probably just play best of 1 to make the cut. And also the LCQ is going to be best of 3, blah, 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 right? And then Gary also said like, oh, if we're doing best of 2, like you probably should do 2 to 3 extra rounds. So it might actually take longer for it to be like accurate, to like correctly reflect whatever. And so finally, luckily, they gave in and made it best of 3. Thank goodness. And for that one, I did real good in the beginning and then I just started to fall. So it ended up being, it technically looks like there's 20 people signed up, but 2 of them showed up late. So really more like 18. No, actually even less than that because one of the other people also didn't show up. So really like 17 people. So then it was 5 rounds of Swiss. And first round, let's see. Round 1, I played against Daryl, who is newer to the game. He always plays purple steel. But last set, he played a brooms deck. This time, he played a locations deck. It had 26 locations. And the minute I saw like him ink a location, then play a different location, I was like, uh-oh. And then he played another location. I was like, oh no. Oh no. There's so much strength. So many locations. But luckily, I basically just was like, okay, I guess I ink my things that don't quest for... Well, one, I could get quite a bit of lore off of my Flynn because he was only playing locations and not very many characters, right? So then Flynn was the strongest one. And then I just started playing things that had more strength. So like Fox, Sisu, Maui, just kind of like prioritizing those things that had more strength. Also helped that last set, I played a purple steel location Z deck with like the dwarves and dwarves mine. And so I knew how big of a menace dwarves mine can be. And so that was always my priority in terms of things to get rid of was dwarves mine first, then dwarves. And then like there was one turn where he had 3 locations and he played a John Silver and I was like, oh no. And I think I got lucky because like that turn he had 3 locations and instead of questing with John Silver, he I think attacked one of my characters or something. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, or else I'd be so screwed. So I think a little bit of misplays on his part, but also like because that the which locations to prioritize, that also helped. So I won that one 2-0. The next round, round 2, I played against Tegan, who was playing blue steel, and she's got this like aggro blue steel with a lot of ward characters. So it's got like the new Alice that when you quest with her, she gives somebody ward and they quest for 1 more. It's got Noi, who is like gets ward and resist +1 if you have item in play. It does not have picked up Manor. It has Wendy, who's 3/1 support quest for 2. And I just remember like in one of the games partway through, I was like, oh, I just need to ink all my brawls because everything that I could brawl, like that's attack was less than 2 or less, is going to have ward. And then everything else that doesn't have ward is going to be stronger. And so these brawls are useless. I was like, just ink that. And it was like pretty close our first game. I was on the play. Like, I think she ended up getting to 16 and I got to 20. And I think she just couldn't get rid of my board. And then the first game, she saw a lot of her draw. So she has Fortispheres, Popsicles, Hurums, Dock. I feel like there's something else that draws cards. And then the second game, she saw none of her card draw. And the second game, I was on the draw, and then it was also close, like 17-17. She saw that at 17, and I was at 7, and then I was able to kind of like get to 13, 17. She couldn't get any lore out. And so I was able to win that one, 2-0, and I was like, I'm on a roll. I'm doing so good. I think like after round 2, I was like number 2, and I was like, ooh, I got to take a screenshot of this because I'm ahead of Tyler, which never happened. And it was literally just because of tiebreakers, because we were all undefeated. So, and Brian as well. And then round 3 is when the trouble started. So round 3, I played against Kevin. He was playing green purple. And the first I was on play both games and I lost both games. I want to say the first game I saw no draw. I saw no rabbits, no genies, no friends on the other side. I was like, what is wrong with this deck? I kept getting so many of my uninkable cards, and my deck was running 15 uninkables, but it felt like, at one point I had 6 cards in hand and they were all uninkables. I think in one game I couldn't ink in turn 4. And then the other game I couldn't ink after turn 6 for like a couple turns. And I was like, what is happening? The second game, it was like neck and neck. So literally, if you look at our little score, I don't know if you can see it because it's like neck and neck, right? I get a lore, he gets lore. I get a lore, he gets lore, basically until like 18. And then like I remember the last one, it was so like, he had a bell on board that I could get rid of with a Maui. But then my Maui would have 4 damage, right? And he's playing green purple. So there's a potential he could play a go-go and get the 4 lore and just win. He was at like 18. And then he also had something else on board. So like that quested for 1. So I was like, do I kill the bell, leave my Maui out, possibly get damage, and then just quest and then hope that he doesn't top deck a goat or a white rose? Or do I just clear the board with a be prepared? And I think I ended up going with the be prepared route. And then he was able to get like 2 characters that he could put out and I couldn't get rid of both of them. And so then I lost, which was very sad. I think also that game, I think I'm realizing this as I play more people in real life, but like Kevin will go like, I'll be inking that and he'll like flash the card like that and then put it down. And so a lot of times I was like, wait, what did you ink? Can you say it again? Can you tell me what you're inking? Just to be like, I'm inking this. And then it was really funny because Brian and I had started listening to a new podcast about Lorcana that I had found. I think it's called like Two Muses. And they were talking about in that podcast, like how the rules are, you have to announce what you're inking. And so I think in retrospect, I should have been like, can you just please announce what you're inking? Because maybe the off chances I could have remembered, maybe he had inked all his other go-go's. I don't know. And so I was like, kind of my own fault. And I feel like it's always annoying when stuff like that happens, because then you feel like it's not like because of skill, it's because of, other things. But I mean, the fact that it was like neck and neck, and I feel like green purple is kind of a hard matchup for my deck anyways, not too bad. Okay, next round, I played somebody new, and I don't remember what their name is. Their melee name is QQKachoo, and I think their name was like John Woo, or but I might just be being super racist and just saying a Korean name. But they were playing red purple, so it was like red purple mirror. I lost the first game. I was at 14 lore. They were at 19. Second, I was on the play. Second game, I was on the play again. I got to 18. They went to 5. So ran them over. Third game was like we went to turns and neither of us could win. I think if we had more time, they probably would have won because they were at 18. I was at 16, but I'm not sure. I don't really remember. So that was a draw. And then going into round 5, so it was a top cut to top 4. So like the 1 and 2 drew, like ID'd. And then the people in 3 and 4 played it out. It was actually Brian and Daniel. Because I forgot if one of them, like if they ID'd, one of them might have been knocked out. So they had to play it out. I think Brian ended up unfortunately losing. And then I was like on the bubble. I think Brian bubbled out. He was like 5th in the end. And then I was like 7 points going in. So if I won, I could maybe be in. Yeah, looking at it, because like the 4th place had 10 points. So if I had won my last one, I would have maybe been in. I played against a red-yellow deck. It looked like it was a Mufasa deck, but then it also had actions. So it was very weird. The first game I won pretty easily. They only got to 4 lore. The second game I lost. It was like a close one, 14-15. And then I think I couldn't clear their board. And then the last game, I ended up losing. We did go to turns. But they were running, so it was like the classic Mufasa deck with like Rapunzel and Mulan, Injured Soldier, Mother Gothel, blah, 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 right? And then it also was playing Maui Shark and Brawl. And I feel like every turn he saw like all his lanterns. And yeah, it was interesting because it's not a deck I've seen or played against for, I feel like 2 or 3 sets. I was like, what do I do? Do I ignore the Mufasa? Do I kill the Mufasa? What do I do? Oh, he was also running Wreck-It Ralph. It's an uninkable card from Amber this set, or maybe last set. I'm not even sure because I've never seen it played. But it's a 6/7, and I'm trying to remember like what even the stats are of. I feel like that whole deck, I was just like, what is happening? I don't even know what's in your deck. I don't know what to play around. Okay, let's see. It is a card from set 5, Wreck-It Ralph Admiral Underpants. 7 cost, uninkable card, 6/7. It has the ability, I've got the coolest friend. When you play this character, return a character card from your discard to your hand. If that character is a princess card, gain 2 lore. And then it quests for 2. So he would just get basically a princess card to get 2 lore. And so in the end, after all was said and done, at the end of round 5, Tyler was first seed. Record was 401 because of his ID. Daniel was second. Mike, who usually plays Amber Steel, and I think he was playing Amber Steel, was third. Also 410. So, and then fourth place was Jack, who was 311. Brian was 5th. I was 10th. My record was 221. And then Gary was also there. He was 15th, 230. I think he also had the curse of non-inkables where his whole hand was not inkable, which really sucks. So yeah, that was yesterday. And in the end, I think Tyler ended up winning as per usual. Yeah, he ended up winning. And it looks like in total, he only lost 1 game and 1-3. So yeah, that was Sunday. This week, I'm not sure if we're going to be playing very many places. I feel like because of the holidays, people are playing less, like a lot of places are closing early on Friday and Saturday. I'm also working a lot because it's the holidays and I always work Christmas. So, and I feel like I have no concept of holidays anyways. So, and our daughter's still pretty small, so she doesn't know what Christmas is yet. So it's going to be a whole lot of Laura Canito, I think. And then it'll kind of maybe pick up more the week after. And then we'll be going to the pretty good Lorcana tournament in January, beginning of January in Sacramento. So that's like the next big competition here. And I feel like people are changing a lot of decks because of the EU championships. And then the Charlie collectible show, CCS, just happened, and it was won by DeCandio, who played Amber Steel. So might be an uptick in Amber Steel, which might lead to an uptick in red blue, which might lead to an uptick in green steel. I don't know. I feel like it's always how it goes. I think I'm going to try to stick to red purple, since last time before Seattle, I did a whole lot of changing shenanigans right before, and it really bit me in the butt. So I'm going to be committed, play my red purple, and see how it goes. Right now, I'm still the only person who has tickets to LCQ. But I mean, Brian's going to come down with me, so hopefully, like, they'll have tickets the day of, and he'll already be there. Like, hey, you got tickets? My husband needs a ticket. Can you please join? And yeah, I think Gary got us Team Hydro Flasks. We can grab it. Okay, so these are the water bottles that Gary got us. Mine says Q, has our little non-inkables hexagon. So we'll be well hydrated. And it has like a silicone bottom so it doesn't slip. And also hopefully it doesn't sweat on stuff. I'm going to be so well hydrated. Look at our swag. It's so cute. I love it. So yeah, I think that is it. I'm not going to promise any other videos besides the podcast this week. But I am going to try to make one. But I don't want to promise anything in case I don't do it again. And so hopefully I'll see you guys on Lord Canito. My name on Lord Canito right now is Bok. So B-O-Q. So if you've seen Wicked, when she's like, we deserve each other, me and Bok. And I think I heard that they're making a lot of jokes about it on TikTok. And so because of that, she re-recorded the line in the movie. Because the way she says it in the original recording is like, me and Bok. Like the Bok part is really weird. And so I was like, so Wicked is kind of taking over my life. So that's why my name is Bok, B-O-Q, capital Q. Because also my name is Q. So, it's fun. So for now, that is who I am, if in case you see me. Oh, I forgot to tell the story about Lord Canito. So I was playing on Lord Canito. And I think I was playing, who was I playing? I was playing against somebody, and it was like the last turn, and they were going to win next turn. And if I could just top deck a goat, I could quest and then win, right? I'm trying to out where that was. Yeah. Okay. So it was like best of, I was playing against a red blue deck. And I think it was like the brief moment when I went back to green purple. And so if I top decked a goat, I would win. And so I think I sang, or I like hard casted a friends and then got a goat. And so then I won. Right. And then Lord Canito has like a little chat on the side. And so in the chat, it said, "You have a good head on your shoulders." And I was like, oh, is this person complimenting me on my like big brain play? Wow. Right? That's what I thought. What I didn't realize is that we hadn't enabled like manual chat mode. So they could only do like the pre-filled out text. So it's like, yes, no, I'm still thinking, like those generic answers, right? And so I was talking about it when I was playing at VPC with Tegan. Tegan's like, oh, that's what happens when they click like the one that's like swear words. So it's like all the symbols. It'll just like auto like populate some phrase. And so really, when I thought the person was complimenting on my big brain play, really they were swearing at me. And it just put that in, which I thought was hilarious. I was like, oh, they're complimenting me. I have a good head on my shoulders. I thought it was like in a kind of, like, because that's when I had been like, I'd gotten a little bit higher in the ranking. And so I was like, oh, maybe like they're a really good seasoned player. And they're like, oh, you little baby, you're getting better. But nope, they were just swearing at me. So that's funny. I can't believe I forgot to tell that. That's right. Okay. So that is it for this week. Check out our TCG store. I found a binder of all the trade cards I'd taken to the last DLC that I forgot to list in the store. So there's like a ton of new cards in the store. People have been buying a lot of Aerial Treasure Collector. And what else? I feel like that's the main one that like people keep buying. And check that out. I will put a link to the Pretty Good Lorcana tournament that's happening in January. I think that's the main things. Check out the TCG store. Let me know if you guys have any comments or questions. Ooh, other thing is, I think I figured out how to foil a playmat at home with like my Cricut and like an iron-on foil thing. So I'm gonna test it out on one of the older mats that we have. So hopefully I don't ruin anything. And if it works, I'll let you guys, I'll show you what I've made. So yeah, that's it. As always, keep shuffling. Hopefully you don't end up with a whole handful of non-inkables like me, which is definitely what happened to me on Sunday. All right, bye.